All right, here it is, day one, back to school. And you know what? Hope you get triggered on this one, because I'm a bit triggered right now. This is supposed to be a daily dose of encouragement, but you know what? I'm just angry. I really just can't believe schools are making kids do this right now. I really can't. I can't believe it. It just blows me away. That's no wonder why so many people are angry about schools and all that. Am I drawing you in? This is the daily dose. It's supposed to be of encouragement and motivation and boost you up and lift your spirits and first day of school. And I don't know if you're the only one struggling, but I, as a parent, am definitely struggling, and I can't believe the schools are making our kids do this. Please pay attention. If you just have no problem with schools at all, this message probably isn't with you or with teachers or with education system and all that. And I'll tell you what, it could be something that easily can get the best of you. And I don't know about you. Now, my kids are coming in their last phases of school, right? I got one that's starting 10th grade and one that's starting their last year. And we did the quintessential, which I'll post later. Don't worry. We'll share the first day of school pictures. Yes, I made them. We made them do that. But I really can't believe schools are making them do this. And I hope this is drawing you in. This is good. And no, I'm honestly not angry. But I want to share this with you because it's really important. How many times, now I can tell you from having kids that have gone through now 12 years of school plus, preschool and all that stuff. And I would say the middle years, middle school, if you got middle schoolers, maybe high schoolers, maybe even some in college. Do you ever hear your kids complain about what's wrong with the school and what's wrong with the teacher and what's wrong with educate? Like what's wrong? I can't believe the school is making us do this. I can't believe the teachers are doing this. I can't believe that I have do you ever hear this? Come on, listen up. It's my teacher's fault that I'm not doing well. Now, fortunately, my kids have done fairly well, so I have no complaints there. But I'll never forget, without fail, at least once a week, probably all school year, it's what we have to look forward to is, Dad, I just can't believe school's making, I can't believe they're making us, and I'm just waiting to hear about the stories after this first, just the way we're going back to school and this kind of different kind of school. Now I have two that started school today. One's in her PJs and the other just left and drove to school, right? So I have the picture. You're going to see it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be 2020 first day of school. Really is my son's last first day, which is definitely a bit bittersweet. But I can say without fail, I know I'm going to hear from my daughter about being online because they're alternating. They do 2 days a week in school, 3 days, and I'm not here to argue any of that. Again, that's not what I'm pissed off about. I have plenty of opinions about that. I just can't believe is what I hear. Now, here comes the added stress, parents, because then you're already stressed out because wondering what your kids are going to be going back to. They got to wear a mask all the time, or they're not going to be able to high five. Can they play sports? Are they going to get the same education being in school or out of school or online or in person? How are their teachers going to feel? What if one of them gets sick? What if the whole school closes down? What if the whole world closes down all the schools because one kid gets sick? All those types of things running through your mind and all those thoughts and craziness, right? And I would just say this to you, is I was thinking all that same stuff as I finished. My wife went and I just texted her a picture of both my kids in our front, literally, every year in the front of the house. Now, mind you, we've been in the same house for the past 18 and a half years, going on 19 years. We bought this house in 2002. So we've been here. Our kids have been in school through the same house. So we had that same picture. And as I was looking at that picture, my daughter in the PJs and my son, getting ready to go to school and driving off, and thinking to myself, holy cow, I could actually let all those things that bother me about schools get me and pull me down and try to drag me in this anger and frustration in the school system, and the teachers aren't working hard enough, and my kid's not going to get the education, and I can't believe that my kids don't get to play sports, and enough. added on top of the regular stress, right? So if you're a parent, this probably is resonating with you. If you have some kids in high school, I know last year at the end of the school year, I knew a number of 12th graders being a student life group leader they were actually finishing up 12th grade. It was wonky. It was hard. Like they had not the same, and I get all those things. And I heard all the posts and the parents that couldn't do graduation and they couldn't do this and they didn't have the prom and all those things. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is to think of back maybe when you were in school. Now, I was thinking back to some of the other harder moments in school. And I thought back to my dad. So stay with me here for a moment. Stay with me. I thought back to when my dad was in high school. Now, mind you, this was a long time ago. And you see, my dad was, he was born in 42. So he's like 70, going to be 78. So he was born in 42. So you can just put the math in 50s or whatever, through the Depression, all that stuff. And, you know, my grandfather had a farm. He was on a farm. He was one of six. He was the youngest of six. And when he was in high school, the farm was struggling. Like his father's income source of being a farmer, potatoes and vegetables and things like that, was struggling. They had chickens and animals and all that stuff, and it was having a hard time. And guess what? My dad didn't even have the luxury of going to school with the mask or going to school online. Guess what he had to do? He had to quit school because he had to work on the farm. In fact, he didn't get his education until he went into the Navy, into the military, after really school was out and when he was old enough to go into the service. But I would say is that he actually quit school. He had no choice. He had to quit school so he could work. So he didn't get those last few years, so to speak, as my son is and as I did and my wife and hopefully my daughter will as well. So I think like those are some hard times, right? Is having to actually have to quit school because you have to go to work for your family when you're a teenager, right? So those are one of the moments. And then I think of another one. I'll share one more before I share with you mine. And the reason why I say this is it's going to help you and encourage you today. I hope it does. And I've really just been thinking about this, and honestly, just like hit me with a ton of bricks when I took that picture this morning. I actually had something else planned out, but I have to share this with you. And as we're getting our anger and frustration in school, and oh my gosh, I can't believe the kids they're not wearing masks. Do you think teenagers are going to do what they're told to do? No. Hopefully you've done a good job as a parent. I know you probably have, to instill good values and then make good decisions, right? You know, there's always repercussions. If there's one thing I can give you a little tidbit of information for your children is to say, all your decisions, there's repercussions. So you hang out with the wrong people, you do the wrong things, and guess what? You're going to get yourself in trouble. It's just a reality. Teach that to your kids at an early age. Trust me, it does really, really well. At least it's shown pretty well with my kids, and mine aren't perfect, neither are yours, so let's just move on with that. So here's a second story about education. So my wife, now this is later on, so my wife and I met in New York, and she had already had her undergraduate degree. She's a nurse, RN. She was in NYU. She was working as an RN for NYU, getting her tuition paid for at NYU, going to school for that, and she was in her her final year. How about this one? This one's going to draw you in. She was at her last year classes, and this is before online. Really, we didn't even have phones at the time. People had phones, but we just were the type to kind of slow to get those phones until this happened. So she's in her last class last year. I think it might have been even the last semester, maybe the semester before. Can't remember exactly. I think it was actually the first semester of her last year. Yeah, first semester. And then she's in class, and guess what? The World Trade Center came down. Planes flew into the World Trade Center, and she was literally a block and a half away. Her classes were a block and a half away. And as a nurse, they were rushed out of the classroom, didn't know what was going on. Then they were told to evacuate the room because you didn't know if the whole world was going to blow up, you know. And as I was up on the hospital, where I live, or where I worked uptown, I was up in the hospital watching one of the World Trade Centers come down and watch the smoke billow in the air and watch like, holy cow, what the heck is going on here? I didn't have a way to get a hold of my fiance at the time, and I didn't know if she was in trouble. I had no idea. I was freaking out. But here's the thing, she was in school, and guess what? School got canceled that day. That was a skip day. So I think of like, wow, that was a big moment as far as school. And like, man, really think about the challenges and struggles we had. Like, there was a chance that I thought like the school was coming down, like where her building was coming down. But it didn't. Went through, and guess what? My dad, he got through. He ended up getting his I think, called GED after he got that. Now me, and let me just share this quick story with you as far as education. I didn't really work that hard in high school. I didn't really do. I didn't care about grades so much. I was like a BC student. I was like, if you resonate, if you're like middle of the pack, all I really cared about were like three things. You know where I'm going with this. In high school, I cared about three things. I wanted to be I wanted to have relations, like friendships, right? Well, all I really cared about was girls. I cared about girls. I cared about sports. And I cared about partying in high school. Literally, and I partied my face off in high school. Not to say that I really am thankful for that, but I'll say it's part of my life and part of my history. So let's just embrace it. This isn't a highlight reel for you. So yeah, I partied way too much in high school. I liked girls way too much in high school, and I enjoyed sports. So those are the three things. I didn't really care about school then. When I went to college, so I didn't really work that hard. College, I wanted to go to physical therapy school. I got in, started working hard, and guess what? Found I had a learning disability. There's a smack in the face. And in that moment, I actually failed out of college. I was in my fifth year of college, and it was a second school because I got from athletic training to physical therapy, and boom, like, let's go ahead and take all the hard courses. And then God was actually directing me to realize I had a learning disability. And I did. And even then, I still failed out of college. I got back in. Point is, like, there's lots of things you can think about that be frustration in this world, in this life, right? The tragic things that happen, like World Trade Center and terrorism, right? Or thinking that you had to, can you imagine if you were forced to drop out of school just so you could go to work for your family? Because I know for a fact there's people that are in other parts of the world that don't even have school as an option right now. They didn't have school as an option before this pandemic. They don't even have it now. They don't have access to the internet or online courses, blah, blah, blah. So as Americans here, I think we really take that for granted. And then there's the reality that kids are like, there's going to be struggles that kids have, whether they have to wear a mask, whether they have to do online, whether they have to, deal with people's opinions and teachers and all that stuff in the world and their parents' influence on them. Like, that is a real struggle, right? That's the real struggle there. So as I say, I'm like all fired up about the school. I'm not. I think learning is an amazing. I don't think school is the only way to learn. You probably heard this before. In fact, I don't even necessarily feel college is the best option for all people. I think in a world now, it's safe to say, and I've seen it enough, is college, while it has usefulness, just kind of like what the Bible says about your body is a temple. There's usefulness to being healthy, right? But it isn't the only all-powering thing. Education, you never should stop learning, but I think you can gain a lot from our teachers, and that's what I hope that my kids do in high school, and if they do go on to college and that. But I think if we start and put all of our eggs in that one basket, or put all of our complaints and anger and frustration as kids go off to school, whether they're going in a school bus or they're taking a car out and driving to school, or going with friends and driving, is at the end of the day, we should just be really, really grateful that we have the opportunities to learn. I had some amazing teachers in my school, in college, even in high school. I had some amazing teachers. I had some amazing experiences. I think they're all great as far as in the pursuit to learning. And I wanted to share this with you as I finish up. It's pretty interesting because I was reading, and you know what? My wife has done these. I know this is like, I don't know if it's necessarily for women only, but I was looking into, my wife had these around, and I know there's like different versions of a Jesus calling. And I was just checking out today, which is pretty cool. And it was thinking, like, if you're feeling broken about school or feeling just broken in general, this message is for you. It's August 20th. Maybe you have this. This might be an older book, Enjoying Peace in His Presence. It's a devotional book, just so you know what that. And you can buy them. You can probably have online versions. So August 20th, I want to just read this because I think it's actually really appropriate. I am a God who heals. Now, again, if you have faith or don't, it's okay. Just hang with me. I'm a God who heals. I heal broken bodies, broken minds, broken hearts, broken lives, and broken relationships. My very presence has immense healing powers. You cannot live close to me without experiencing some degree of healing. However, it is also true that you have not because you ask not. I'm going to say that again. You have not because you ask not. You receive the healing that flows naturally from my presence, whether you seek it or not. But there is much, much more available to those who ask. The first step in receiving healing is to live ever so close to me. The benefits of his practice are too numerous to list. As you grow more and more intimate with me, I reveal my will to you more directly. When the time is right, I prompt you to ask for healing of some brokenness in you or in another person. The healing may be instantaneous, or it may be a process. That's up to me. Your part is to trust me fully and to thank me for the restoration that has begun. It's almost there. I rarely heal all the brokenness in a person's life. Even my servant Paul was told, my grace is sufficient for you. Now he sought healing for the thorn in his flesh. Nonetheless, much healing is available to those whose lives are intimately interwoven with mine. Ask and you shall receive. So, man, I just love that. My grace is sufficient for you. So I don't know where you're at in your faith journey. I don't know where you're at with kids going back to school. I don't know where you're at in your life, maybe your personal life, your health, maybe your financial status level, what have you, your pursuit of your careers and your success and all those things. But can you imagine if you just woke up and said, today, Lord, my grace is sufficient for you. Like that, his grace is sufficient for you. Can you imagine that? And the last thing on this is that one thing that just resonated with me is it's also true you have not because you ask not. There is much, much more available to those who ask. So isn't that the truth? Listen, I think if we can get caught up in all the complaints and aggravation, election season, right, all that stuff, our world kind of health, if we're going to die tomorrow, if we don't wear a mask, any of those things. Again, it's not to argue all that stuff, right? I totally get that. But can you imagine if we just ask, if we don't have the answers, Lord, what are you trying to teach us? Lord, how can this draw me closer to you? How can it give me the kind of peace that can overwhelm any kind of situation, circumstance, aggravation, frustration, school, things like school, right? Can you imagine if we had that kind of peace in our hearts? You see, I believe it's available. And how I know is because I find more and more peace. The more and more I lean in, the more and more I ask. It's okay to have big, bold prayers for the Lord. But sometimes it just takes having boldness to talk to him and ask him. Because I don't think he wants you to mope around, to sit around, to be disappointed in the things you don't have, or the opportunities your kids don't have, or the way things used to be, all those types of things. But I think it's easy to complain, but are you even asking? Are you even talking to him and asking for a reassurance? Are you asking for not just the stuff that you think are going to fill you, but end up not really filling that void? Because, there was one thing I've learned in my faith journey. There's only one thing that can fill me completely, and that's my faith. And the only thing that can fill you, I don't care how successful you have, I don't care how much money you have, I don't care how fit you are, I don't care how smart your kids are, I don't care how beautiful you look in the mirror or how skinny you look in that bathing suit. All of those things are not necessarily bad things. They're all good things. But I'll tell you what, if they become the Lord of your life, you're going to end up pretty empty. I can just tell you that. So anyway, with this, going into school, I know kind of going off maybe a little on the deep end, but with school, I hope this drew you in. I hope you listened to this. Go back if you're just checking it out now. But I can't believe, can we just imagine for a moment if we start to get frustrated with schools, or get frustrated with the government, or get frustrated with other people, or get frustrated with what we hear on the news, or we get frustrated with people's comments to us. I don't know about you. I've learned, because I've definitely had my share of haters that reached out, sent me messages. And I had a pastor, actually, I know he didn't coin this phrase, but a pastor a few years back said, Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Can you imagine, Jimmy crack corn and I don't care? The bottom line is, for the most part, I could be changing my opinion. The only one that can really, truly change my opinion, well, I say my wife has some influence on that, but I would say is who I look to watch over my entire life. And that's my boss upstairs, my main boss. And how I get to that guy upstairs is through my relationship with Jesus. So getting through school, first day of school, first week of school, your kids are younger, maybe older like mine, maybe they're out of school, starting college. I know some of you parents out there have kids off to college, and it may look a whole lot different. And I would say just be appreciative of that they actually have that kind of an opportunity. Like that's something in and itself. I'm excited that my kids had some really, really amazing teachers all throughout their life. And I hope and direct them that if school is the direction they so choose on a path when they get older, is that they have some more amazing teachers that come their way. And I'll just pray for that. And also to pray that God's grace not only is sufficient for my life, but also for the lives of my family and the lives of for your lives as well. So that's it on the Daily Dose. Hey, listen, 10 a.m. This is my little plug, shameless plug. 10 a.m. One of my best friends in the world, who is, I feel like, kind of like, I know this phrase you might have heard, brother from another mother. We're like just tight. Just Dave and I met on a trip to Costa Rica. He's a pastor, close friend of mine. His family's actually have been enjoying time. He's been here back in the States, and we're going to come live. So come join me at 10 a.m. Don't worry, I'll save it if you got to work. If you got like a regular job, sorry, sucks to be you. No, I'm just kidding. But 10 a.m. we're going to be coming on live, so about an hour and a half or so. It's usually at 2, but we got to do it at 10. So that's going to work, but I'm going to save it. We're going to stream it in live, but it's going to be saved on Zoom, so you can watch the replay later. And we're going to talk about faith, fitness. It's a Healthy Dose, episode number 3. Really, really excited about that. I don't know, maybe this is the start of a podcast. When I started with Isabel, which was episode 1, kind of got me encouraged. I like to talk with other people. I just want to share some of the blessings of people that have crossed my path. And God has put in my place. It's helped encourage me, not just to be a good fitness coach, but to be a good father, to pursue my best at being a good father and a good Christian and a good parent and a good business owner and a good coach and, all those things. And I hope if you have the time at 10 o'clock, you're going to join me. It's going to be an awesome one. We're just going to have a conversation and share about his life. And it just is an amazing, amazing story. You're not going to want to miss it. Come join me back at 10 o'clock Eastern time. We'll talk to you soon. Take care and God bless.